The arrival of the giantess. The sky above Colony Virex 9 turned dark, even though it was only afternoon. Thick clouds rolled in, fast and heavy, like something was forcing them down. Birds scattered. The trees stopped moving. Everything became still. Too still. A loud alarm echoed across the colony. Red alert. All civilians return to shelters. Unknown life form detected outside the perimeter. Panic spread quickly. People ran in every direction. Security robots rolled through the streets. Drones circled above, scanning the edge of the forest. Darren Saul stood still in the middle of the chaos. He wasn't scared. He was curious. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't a scientist. He was just a mechanic, a guy who fixed ships, cleaned oil, and liked quiet work. But something about the alert made him stop and listen harder. Then the screen on the public tower flickered on. Grainy video showed something. No, someone, walking through the trees. Not human. Tall. Maybe 8 feet or more. Broad shoulders. Glowing eyes. It was a woman. A giant alien woman. The video zoomed in right as she grabbed a crashed cargo drone and tossed it like a toy. Then it ended. People screamed. It's dangerous. It's coming here. Military teams gathered. We're setting traps in the woods, one officer said. No one is allowed outside. But Darren didn't run. Instead, he stepped back into the shadows and moved in the opposite direction, toward the forest. He didn't know why. Maybe it was the way she looked. Maybe it was the way she moved. There was power, yes, but also pain and loneliness. He grabbed his old backpack, threw in some med supplies, and slipped past the fences when the guards weren't looking. The forest was quiet. The air felt heavy, like something alive was watching him. Every few steps, Darren found signs. Deep footprints. Broken branches. Something huge had moved through here. Then he saw it. A body. Lying near a fallen tree. It was her. She was bigger than he imagined. At least 8 feet tall, strong and muscular, but still feminine. Her skin was smooth and dark blue, with glowing lines running across her arms. She wore armor, but it was damaged. One of her legs was bleeding badly. Her long white hair was tangled with leaves. Darren froze. Should he run? But she looked peaceful. Her breathing was slow. Her chest rose and felt like she was just asleep, and she was hurt. Really hurt. He slowly walked closer. Hey, he whispered. Can you hear me? No answer. He checked her pulse. Strong, but fading. Darren didn't think. He just moved. He tore off a strip from his shirt and wrapped her wound. Then he pulled out a pain patch from his kit and gently pressed it on her skin. Suddenly, her eyes snapped open. Bright, glowing violet. She grabbed his wrist. Her grip was strong enough to break bones. Darren's heart stopped. He couldn't breathe. Her voice was low, rough, human. He nodded slowly. Yes, I'm not here to hurt you. You were bleeding. I helped. She blinked, looked at his bandage, then at the patch. Her grip loosened. Helped, she whispered, surprised. Darren slowly nodded again. Yeah, you okay? She tried to sit up but winced. Pain. I know. You lost a lot of blood. You need rest. She looked around. Danger. Hunters coming. I know, Darren said. They think you're a threat. But I don't. She studied him for a long moment. Her eyes scanned his face. She was trying to understand something. Maybe she didn't trust him. Maybe she couldn't believe someone would help her. I have a place nearby, Darren said. It's safe. Come with me. She didn't answer, but when he helped her stand, she didn't stop him. She leaned on him, heavy as a boulder, but walked. It took nearly an hour to reach his small hidden shelter near the power station. It was quiet, hidden behind old metal parts. He helped her lie down on the softest place he had, a rolled-up blanket over foam crates. He gave her water. She drank it slowly, never taking her eyes off him. "What's your name?" he asked gently. She hesitated, then spoke. "Valgera." "Valgera," he repeated. "I'm Darren." She closed her eyes again, her breathing calming. Darren sat beside her, confused and amazed. Who was she? Why was she here? And why did it feel like she didn't just fall from the sky, but into his life for a reason? She opens her eyes. Darren sat in silence. The alien woman, Valgera, lay resting inside his small shelter, her tall frame barely fitting across the crates and blankets he had arranged. Outside, the sky was still dark. The alarms had stopped, but the fear hadn't. He stared at her. Never in his life had he seen anything like her. Even though she was injured, her body looked powerful, made for battle. Her skin had a soft glow under the light, like moonlight trapped inside crystal. The strange blue lines running across her arms pulsed slowly, as if alive. And her face, though fierce, held something. Soft. She didn't look like a monster. She looked tired. He leaned back and whispered to himself, "What the hell are you, Valgera?" Just then, she moved. A slow, deep breath. Then another. Her glowing violet eyes opened again. But this time, sharper. She sat up. Fast. Too fast. Darren barely had time to speak. "Wait. You're still." Her hand grabbed his shirt, pulling him close with one swift movement. Her strength was wild, unmeasured. Darren's feet lifted off the floor. He couldn't breathe. Her face was close now, inches away from his. Her skin gave off warmth. Her eyes were glowing brighter. A low growl came from her throat. She smelled him, literally, sniffed near his neck, then pulled back, confused. "You are small," she said in broken English, "but not weak." Darren struggled to answer while still half hanging in the air. I guess. Can you maybe put me down?" She blinked again, then slowly lowered him. He stumbled but caught his balance. She stood tall now, fully awake, her head nearly touching the ceiling. Darren tilted his head back just to look up at her. "You understand me?" he asked. She nodded. "I'd learn. From memory crystal. Human tongue. Simple." "Well, glad to know someone thinks so," Darren mumbled. Valgera looked around the small space. Her eyes scanned the walls, the tools, the lights. "You saved me," she finally said. "I did what I could," he replied. "You were bleeding. I used a patch, wrapped the wound." Valgera looked down at her leg. The bandage was stained with blood, but it had stopped flowing. She moved her leg slightly, testing it. "Why?" she asked. "Why what? Why save enemy?" Darren paused. "Who said you're the enemy?" She looked at him like he was the one from another planet. "Humans fear what they don't understand," he said quietly. "You didn't attack the colony. You could have crushed them all. But you didn't." She tilted her head. "I am, not like others." Darren nodded. "That's clear." Silence followed. Then she said something strange. "You touched my blood." Darren blinked. "Yeah, you were bleeding." "In my culture," she said slowly, "touching blood means bond, honor, rare." He frowned. "Wait, you mean like marriage or something?" She stared at him for a long time, then said, "Not yet." His face turned red. "What does that mean?" But Valgera had turned away, limping slightly as she walked toward the small metal door of the shelter. She opened it a little and looked outside, scanning the dark forest. Then she closed the door and turned back. "They hunt me," she said. "Your kind." "Yeah, I know," Darren said. "That's why I hid you here. But they'll search again. We don't have long." She walked back to him, each step heavy. "I must return to my people. I thought you came alone." "I did," she said. "But now, they are close. Watching." Darren's eyes narrowed. You're saying there are more of you. Here. She nodded. Hidden. Waiting. I came to test. To see if humans could be bonded. He felt his stomach twist. Bonded. You mean mating? She stepped closer. Her voice dropped. Yes. Darren took a step back, hitting the table behind him. Valzera looked down at him, her voice almost a whisper now. You are the only male who dared touch me. And live. Now, let's not make it weird, Darren said quickly, laughing nervously. She didn't laugh. She raised one hand and placed it gently on his chest. His heart skipped. You have courage, she said, not strength of body, but strength of soul. Thanks, Darren said, suddenly aware of how close she was. But what does that mean for us? It means you are my chosen. Darren froze. What? Wait, I didn't. She stepped back. You don't understand. In my world, only those who prove bravery may be accepted. He sat down, running his hand through his hair. This is nuts. 1 minute I'm fixing ship engines. The next, I'm someone's chosen mate. Valzera sat too, though she had to crouch a bit due to her size. Her voice softened. Do not fear. There is a ritual. You can refuse. But if you accept, what happens? She looked him in the eyes. Then we are bonded for life. Silence. Darren swallowed hard. Then, from outside, came a sound. Boots. Metal. Voices. Soldiers. They were near. Valzera tensed. They found us. Darren stood, his voice steady now. Then we need to move. Fast. Valzera looked at him with something new in her eyes. Respect. Trust. And something deeper. Desire. The challenge. The sound of boots grew louder outside the shelter. Darren and Valzera stood completely still, their eyes locked on the door. A voice shouted something in the distance. Robotic. Flat. Military. Scan every structure. The alien is close. Valzera's large hand reached for the door handle, but Darren stopped her gently. No, he whispered. If they see you now, they'll shoot. They don't want peace. They want proof you're a monster. She looked down at him, her violet eyes glowing brighter in the dark. Then let them try. I do not fear them. I know it, he said, but if you fight, they'll never stop coming. Not today. Not tomorrow. Ever. Valzera stared at him, her face unreadable. Then finally, she stepped back. Darren opened a trapdoor under the floor and motioned her to go first. It was a tight tunnel that led to the back of an old fuel building. It wasn't made for someone her size, but she squeezed through without a sound. Moments later, they reached the exit behind a rusted tank. The forest waited. They ran. Valzera moved fast. Even with her injury, Darren had to struggle to keep up. Behind them, searchlights crossed through the trees, but none caught them. Not yet. After what felt like hours, they stopped at a cave hidden behind thick vines. It was cold and damp inside, but safe. Darren dropped to the ground, breathing hard. That was close. Valzera didn't sit. She stood near the entrance, watching, waiting, like a predator guarding her den. After a long silence, she finally turned to him. You asked about mating, she said calmly. Darren looked up. This doesn't feel like the right time. But she continued. In my people's law, we do not choose by words. We choose by strength, by challenge. Only a worthy mate can survive the trial of will. Darren blinked. Wait, you want me to fight you? Valzera nodded slowly. It is not about winning. It is about daring, about showing heart. If you run, you are nothing. If you try, even if you fall, you are honored. Darren stood up slowly. Okay, so this is like a test. Yes, a ritual combat. Not to kill, not to harm, but to prove. To prove what? She stepped closer, towering over him. That you are worthy of me." He laughed nervously. "Well, this is definitely the weirdest date I've ever been on." She didn't laugh. Instead, she raised one giant arm and pulled off the shoulder guard from her armor. Then the other. They fell to the ground with heavy thuds. Her body now fully stood before him. Strong, scared, and beautiful, in a fierce, alien way. Darren swallowed hard. Valgera raised her hands and opened her palms. "Begin when ready." Darren looked around. Now." She waited. He took a deep breath, stepped forward, and did the only thing he could think of. He pushed her. His hands barely moved her. It was like pushing a mountain. She didn't budge. Then she shoved back, lightly. Darren fell flat on his back. She waited again. He got up, coughing. "Okay, you're strong. We get it." Still, she waited. Darren grabbed a broken tree branch and charged, not to hurt her, but to at least make a mark. He swung. She caught the stick in one hand and snapped it like a toothpick. But she didn't hit him. She smiled. "Again," she said. Darren picked up a rock and threw it, not at her, but near her, a distraction. He ran low, tried to jump at her side. She stepped away. Darren crashed to the ground again. He groaned. "Do you enjoy watching me suffer?" Valgera lowered herself and helped him up. "You tried again. That is the way." She stood back. Darren was tired, bruised, breathing heavy. But something inside him burned now. Not fear. Pride. She wanted him to stop, to give up. He wouldn't. He looked her in the eye, stood tall, and opened his arms. "Go ahead," he said. "Give me your best shot." Valgera charged, not fast, but with power. Her shoulder bumped his chest. He flew back into a tree. Pain exploded in his ribs. But he stood again. Blood ran down his lip. He raised his hands again. "Still here," he said. Valgera froze. Then slowly she kneeled. In front of him. "You have passed." Darren blinked. What just happened? She lowered her head. "In my world, when the strong kneel, it is not weakness. It is honor. You showed courage, not foolish strength. You dared. That is rare." Darren sat down, rubbing his ribs. "So, does this mean we're married now?" She looked at him. "No, not yet." Darren sighed in relief. "First," she said, "we must complete the ancient rite. Undermoon. With truth. That sounds spiritual or dangerous. Both." Then she whispered something he couldn't understand, a word in her language. The wind shifted. A strange silence fell across the forest. From the shadows, glowing eyes began to appear, one by one. Not human. More of her kind. Tall, silent, waiting, watching. Darren stood frozen. "What's happening?" Valgera stood beside him now. "They have come. To witness." "Witness what?" She looked down at him. The bond. The ancient ritual. The glowing eyes in the dark didn't blink. They just stared. One by one, the massive shapes of Valgera's people stepped forward from the shadows. Each of them stood over 7 feet tall, warriors dressed in armor made of silver bone and black stone. Their movements were quiet, but their presence was powerful. Darren's heart raced. He had never seen creatures like this before. And now, more than a dozen surrounded him. He stood close to Valgera, unsure what to do, unsure what they would do to him. "Are they here to kill me?" he whispered. Valgera shook her head. "They are here to judge you," she replied calmly. "Judge me? For what?" She looked into his eyes, to see if I chose well. A tall male alien stepped forward, his body marked with glowing red lines instead of blue. His voice was deep and heavy. "Valgera of the Flame Womb," he said, "you bring a male from the lesser world. Is he your chosen?" Valgera stood straight. Yes. The alien's eyes shifted toward Darren. He is small, weak, but brave, Valgera replied. Bravery is wind, another alien female hissed. It moves but leaves no mark. Darren raised his hand. Okay, I'm standing right here, by the way. Silence. Then the red-lined warrior spoke again. Bring the stones. 2 aliens carried forward a glowing black box. They opened it, revealing 7 strange round stones. Each stone pulsed with a soft inner light. Red, green, white, gold, blue, silver, and purple. Darren looked at them with confusion. Magic marbles. Valgera did not smile. These are the stones of truth, she said. Each one asks a question. You must answer. If you lie, they will know. Let me guess. If I lie, I explode. She didn't respond. Darren sighed. Great. Valgera stepped back and nodded. Darren stepped forward, the center of a silent circle of alien warriors. One of them picked up the red stone and held it before him. First truth. Why did you save Valgera when your kind hunted her? Darren took a breath. Because I saw someone hurt, not a monster. I just wanted to help. The red stone pulsed brightly and floated gently back into the box. No explosion. That was a good sign. The green stone rose next. Second truth. Do you seek power or glory through bonding with her? Darren frowned. I didn't even know bonding was on the table. So, no. Again, the stone glowed and returned. The white stone floated forward. Third truth. Do you desire her for what she is? Darren hesitated. You mean because she's an 8-foot alien warrior? Yes. Darren glanced at Valgera. Her face was unreadable. I don't know what I feel, he said honestly, but I respect her. And yes, I'm drawn to her, not because she's alien, but because she's real. The stone glowed. The gold stone came next. Fourth truth. Will you protect her, even against your own kind? Darren didn't hesitate. Yes, I already have. Glow. The blue stone hovered. Fifth truth. Are you afraid? Darren laughed. Yes, I'm surrounded by giants who could snap me like a twig. I'd be crazy not to be afraid. The stone pulsed. The silver stone moved. Sixth truth. Would you give your life to save hers? He looked at Valgera. Then he nodded. Yes. The silver stone glowed brighter than all the rest before returning to the box. Finally, the purple stone rose. It hovered longer. It felt heavier in the air. Final truth, the warrior spoke. Do you accept the bond of flame and soul, knowing it cannot be broken, not even by death? Darren didn't answer immediately. He looked around, at the aliens, at the stones, and finally at Valgera. Her eyes glowed with a soft violet light, and for once, she looked unsure. She was waiting for his choice now. No pressure. Darren's voice was quiet, but steady. Yes. The purple stone burned bright. A soft hum filled the air. Then, silence. Valgera stepped forward. She took Darren's hand in hers. Her palm was almost twice the size of his, yet she held him gently. You have passed the stones of truth, she said. The other aliens bowed their heads. Then the warrior who led them spoke. Prepare the rite. All around them, torches were lit, glowing blue flames in stone bowls. The aliens formed a perfect circle around Darren and Valgera. Valgera stepped toward him, removing the remaining parts of her armor until only a silver cloth remained over her chest and waist. She raised her arms to the sky and spoke in her language. Words Darren could not understand, but felt deep in his chest. A bright light formed between them. She looked into his eyes. This is the bonding flame. If you step into it with me, you become part of my people, my mate, my equal, forever. Darren stared at the light. It felt warm, alive, like it was calling him. He took a deep breath and stepped forward. Just as their fingers touched inside the flame, a shot rang out. Bang! Valzera gasped, staggering back. A red laser had hit her shoulder. From the trees, soldiers, human ones, they had followed Darren. "No," he shouted, catching her as she fell. Another shot came. Aliens roared. The flame vanished. Chaos exploded. And Darren, with blood on his hands and fury in his heart, looked up at the soldiers with one thought. "You just made a big mistake." When the sky turned red, Valzera fell to her knees. The blue flame that once danced between her and Darren flickered out, leaking behind silence and smoke. A bright burn glowed on her shoulder where the human laser had hit. "Valzera," Darren shouted, catching her before she collapsed completely. She gritted her teeth, her eyes glowing dimmer than before. They shot, during the rite. Her voice was weak. Her skin, usually warm and strong, felt cold. Behind them, chaos erupted. Alien warriors roared in fury. Spears of plasma lit up the night. The circle broke. The sky above turned red as torches were thrown aside and blasters lit up the trees. The soldiers, human ones, didn't expect resistance like this. They had come quietly. Now they were running for their lives. But Darren didn't move. He stayed right there, holding Valzera in his arms. "You'll be okay," he said quickly, pressing a bandage to the burn. "You're not dying. You can't die. Not now." Her eyes opened slightly. "You were in the flame. With me." "I still am," he said. "But we didn't finish it. You were willing. That is enough." "No, it's not. I don't want half a bond. I want all of it. All of you." She gave a faint smile. "Then protect me." Darren's heart raced. He stood, lifting her with all the strength he had. She was heavy, taller, stronger, but he didn't care. He carried her toward a large stone, placing her gently behind it. Blaster fire echoed through the trees. An alien warrior landed near them, wounded, still fighting. Suddenly, from the smoke, a man in black armor appeared. Commander Luthen, the head of colony security. He stepped forward slowly, aiming his rifle at Darren and Valzera. "Well," Luthen said coldly, "what do we have here?" Darren stood in front of Valzera, arms wide. "She's not your enemy." "She's an alien," Luthen replied. "That's all I need to know." "She's my bondmate," Darren said. "You shoot her, you shoot me." Luthen's eyes narrowed. "So the rumors were true. You chose her over your own kind." "I didn't choose against humans," Darren said. "I chose her because she never hurt anyone. You're the one who attacked." Luthen raised his gun. Darren didn't flinch. Just then, a plasma spear flew from the shadows. It struck the rifle, blasting it into pieces. Luthen fell backward, screaming. Valzera's people surrounded them, weapons glowing, eyes fierce, but they didn't kill. They waited. Valzera stood now, her body trembling but upright. She looked at the aliens and raised her hand weakly. "No more death. We finished the rite." The warriors slowly stepped back. One of them brought the stone bowl again, relighting the flame. The blue fire rose. Valzera turned to Darren. "You are brave," she whispered. "You faced your own kind for me. You faced death for me," Darren replied. "We're even." She stepped into the flame again, her skin glowing. Darren followed. As their hands touched inside the light, something deeper happened. His mind flooded with her memories. A young alien girl training in the high mountains of her world, fighting monsters twice her size, crying under twin moons when her sister died, swearing never to bond with anyone unless they earned it. He felt her loneliness, her rage, her longing. Then, peace. Inside the flame, her voice echoed inside his mind. "You are mine. I am yours, no matter the stars between us." Darren's heart pounded. His eyes teared up. He didn't know if it was the bond or just love. Outside the flame, silence had returned. The flame faded. They stepped out, still holding hands. Her people bowed deeply. Even the wounded did not rise. One alien warrior spoke. She has chosen. The bond is sealed. Valzera looked at Darren. Her voice was stronger now. Mate of mine, she said, do you accept your new name? My name, he asked. Yes, you are no longer just Darren Saul. You are now Darren Shera, of my house, of my flame. He smiled. I think I like that. But peace didn't last long. A loud explosion echoed in the distance. Then a voice boomed from speakers above the trees. This is Earth Command. You have violated interspecies contact law. All alien life forms are to be turned over immediately. Resistance will be destroyed. Huge warships hovered above the forest now, blinking red. Dozens of human drones descended. More soldiers, more weapons, more war. Valzera grabbed his hand. We cannot stay. I won't leave you, Darren said. You don't have to, she replied. One of the alien warriors handed Valzera the small crystal. She pressed it to her chest, and her armor returned, rebuilding itself from glowing particles. She tossed one to Darren. What's this? He asked. Armor for you, she said. Now you fight with me. I fix ships, he muttered. Not tonight, she said, her voice deep with power. Tonight, you fight for your mate. Above them, the sky roared with fire. Red lights fell through the clouds. The ground shook. But this time, Darren didn't run. He stood tall beside the woman he now belonged to. And together, they walked toward the coming war. Rescue from the stars. Darren had never worn armor before. But as the alien suit covered his body, bit by bit, like living light wrapping around his skin, it didn't feel heavy. It felt like a second layer of strength. It shaped itself to his form, leaving space for movement, yet firm like steel. He looked up at Valzera, who now stood fully armed, glowing again with power. The red lights above the forest grew larger. Human dropships were landing. Hundreds of soldiers poured out in full battle gear. Giant mechs followed, their metallic feet crushing the trees. Drones hummed like insects in the air, ready to fire. Darren clenched his fists. He'd never held a weapon, never fought in a real war. But this time, it was different. They weren't attacking an enemy. They were attacking his mate. Valzera took his hand. You don't have to fight them all. Just stand with me. I will, he said, to the end. Suddenly, a roar shook the sky. Everyone, humans, aliens, even machines, looked up. A massive shadow appeared in the clouds, bigger than any Earth ship, wider than a city block. The air rippled with energy. A ship, but not human. Alien. Valzera's people had arrived. A deep sound pulsed through the sky, not like words, but everyone understood the message. Step away, or be turned to dust. The Earth commander on the ground shouted, Do not listen to them. They're bluffing. Fire at will. The soldiers raised their weapons. Darren's heart jumped. But Valzera stepped forward first. With one movement, she threw her spear into the air. It split in two, mid-air, and released a wave of blue fire that shot straight up. It struck one of the incoming drones, and the drone exploded. The forest lit up like lightning had struck. The aliens roared. A full battle began. Valzera's warriors fought with speed and precision. Their weapons moved like art, spinning, flashing, burning. They didn't kill unless they had to, but they were stronger, smarter, faster. Darren ducked behind a tree, pulling Valzera with him. A blast struck near them, sending dirt and sparks flying. Stay behind me, she ordered. No, he shouted. We do this together. A drone came close. Darren pointed his hand like he saw one of the aliens do. His new armor responded. A beam of white energy shot from his palm and fried the drone in midair. He gasped. "Whoa!" Valzera smirked. "Your armor knows your bond. It will protect you. Remind me to keep it forever." They moved as a pair, Darren covering her sides while she took out ground troops. He was still new, but his courage never failed. But the enemy kept coming. The human army had sent too many. One of the mechs locked onto Darren, its massive cannon charge. There was no time to dodge. Then, boom! A flash of silver tore through the air, and the mech split in two, falling with a thunderous crash. Darren looked up. Another alien landed beside him. Female, tall, with gold markings. Valzera bowed slightly. "Commander Feline." "You made the bond," the alien woman said. "Good. Now it's time to escape." Darren blinked. "Escape? We're winning." "No," Valzera said. "This was not a war. It was a test. A test. To see if Earth was ready for the truth." Darren looked confused. "What truth?" Feline raised her hand. A beam of light surrounded Darren and Valzera. Then she answered, "That humans are not alone in this galaxy, and never were." The light lifted them from the ground. They floated into the air, rising toward the massive alien ship. The humans fired, but the beams bounced off the shield. Inside the ship, the world changed. The walls were smooth and glowing. The floor responded to footsteps with soft blue light. The air was cleaner, cooler, alive. Darren stared with wide eyes. "This is amazing." Valzera touched his cheek. "Welcome, mate of mine. This is your new home." He took a deep breath. "So this is it. I leave Earth behind forever." "Only if you want to," she said. "But if you stay, you walk beside me as equal, as protector, as bonded soul." He looked out the window. Below, Earth looked small. Fires burned in the forest. But something else burned brighter. His heart. He looked at her and said, "I'm not leaving you. Ever." She smiled. Then, suddenly, an alarm rang through the ship. "Emergency alert. Incoming Earth fleet. Multiple warships. Preparing to fire." Commander Feline turned sharply. "They dare." "Let me talk to them," Darren said. Valzera frowned. "They won't listen." "Maybe not to you," he said, "but I'm still one of them." They led him to the central chamber. A giant screen showed Earth's fleet, 10 ships, all armed. Darren activated the mic. "This is Darren Sol, or maybe now it's Darren Terra. Doesn't matter. I'm human. You know me. You saw me grow up on Colony Virex 9. You trusted me with your machines. Now trust me with your peace." He paused. "I bonded with an alien, not for power, not for fame, but because I saw something beautiful in someone different." More silence. Then he said, "If you fire, you end more than a life. You end the future, our future." The fleet didn't respond. Valzera took his hand. Then, all 10 ships powered down. They didn't fire. Commander Feline nodded. "The boy has courage, just like she said." Valzera looked at him with pride. "You passed more than my people's test. You passed your own." Darren looked out the window one more time. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring. But he knew this. He wasn't just a mechanic anymore. He was something new, something greater. And the stars were just the beginning. Mated forever under the stars. The stars outside the alien ship shined like a sea of diamonds. Darren stood at the wide observation window, staring out in silence. He had never seen space like this before, not from a screen or a ship's camera, but with his own eyes. Pure, clear, endless. Behind him, the soft hum of the alien vessel whispered like music. Valzera walked up quietly and stood beside him. Her tall form cast a long shadow, her presence as strong and calm as ever. Her hand reached for his, fingers gently wrapping around his smaller ones. He didn't pull away. Instead, he leaned his head against her arm. "You've been quiet," she said softly. "I've just been thinking," he replied. "About everything." "So much has changed," she said. He nodded. "I was just a mechanic. I like to fix things. Keep my head down. Live small." "You still fix things," she said. "Just bigger things now." He smiled at that. For the first time in his life, he felt like more than a background character. He felt seen, heard, respected, wanted, loved. 3 days later, the ship entered orbit around Alcthera, Valgera's homeworld, a world with twin suns and rivers of glowing silver water, mountains that floated and cities made of living crystal. Darren's eyes widened as they descended. "It's beautiful," he whispered. Valgera watched him with pride. "And it's yours now, too." As they landed, crowds gathered, not with fear, not with weapons, but with flowers, gifts, and open arms. The people of her world had heard everything. About the human who stood beside their warrior. About the man who passed the trial of will. About the mate who defended his bond. He wasn't an outsider anymore. He was Darren Terra, mate of the flame-blooded warrior. The ceremonial union. A great hall was prepared. It sparkled under the stars. Alien guests arrived from other worlds. Even a few brave humans, scientists, diplomats, attended through special agreements. Darren stood before a tall altar of glowing stone. Valgera walked toward him slowly, dressed in a flowing garment made of stardust silk. Her markings glowed golden. Her eyes glimmered. He had never seen anyone so fierce, or so beautiful. A priestess spoke in the old tongue. Then she translated into simple English. "Do you, warrior of Alcthera, accept this human as your life mate, to stand with you in war, in peace, in blood, and in breath?" Valgera looked straight into his eyes. "I do." The priestess turned. "And do you, human of Earth, accept this warrior as your bondmate, to stand with her in soul, in strength, in truth, and in love?" Darren nodded. "I do, with all my heart." A flame rose between them. They stepped into it together. This time, no one interrupted. The fire wrapped around them, and they glowed, not from heat, but from unity. They were not two people anymore. They were one. Weeks later, Darren and Valgera sat on a balcony overlooking the endless sky. Peace had begun to grow between humans and her kind. The council had agreed to open dialogue. Trade talks had started. There were still problems, still skeptics, but now there was also hope, and it all began with them. "You know," Darren said, leaning back on a soft alien cushion, "I thought mating with an 8-foot alien woman would be the wildest thing that ever happened to me." She chuckled. "It still might be." He looked at her belly, now softly glowing. "Do all your people glow when they're expecting?" Valgera nodded. "The light is the child's soul forming. Our bond gave it strength." Darren placed his hand gently on her stomach. Warmth spread through his palm. "I didn't think I'd ever be a father," he whispered. "You are more than a father," she said. "You are the reason this child has a future, where peace is possible." They sat there, under 2 moons, as soft wind moved through the air like a lullaby. No war, no fire, no fear, just them. And the stars, far above, in human space. Back on Earth, people watched the news with wide eyes. Photos of Darren and Valgera had gone viral. Most people were shocked. Some mocked. Some feared. But more and more began to wonder. What if aliens weren't monsters? What if love really was universal? A simple man, a mechanic, had done what diplomats, generals, and leaders could not. He made the galaxy feel smaller and connected. Final scene. A message to Earth. Darren stood before a glowing camera on Valgera's ship. He wore the symbol of his new house. His voice was calm, strong, simple. He looked directly into the camera and spoke. I was just like you. I fixed machines. I paid rent. I had doubts. I never felt important. But then I met someone who saw more in me than I ever saw in myself. She wasn't from Earth. She didn't speak like us. She didn't look like us. But her heart, it was real. Fierce, loyal, loving. And now, I'm her mate, her equal. So if you're watching this, and you're scared, I understand. But maybe, just maybe, what we fear most is the thing that can save us. He smiled. Love doesn't care about planets. It just needs someone brave enough to say, yes, I choose you. And so, a human and a giant alien warrior stood together, not just as mates, but as a new beginning, proving that even among stars, love is still the strongest force in the universe.